Hi, big week in movie news with the Oscar nominations, new Michael Mann movie, but there's one thing we want to get to on top of everything else. The new Clint Eastwood movie, American Sniper, opens today in Portland. Mark, you wrote a review for Oregon Live, ran in the Oregonian. It's generated a lot of attention online. So let's start right in. Mark, why do you hate America?
Well, I think you may have misread my review somewhat, and in
I
that
wouldn't be the only
in
one.
that you're not alone. Just to get the record straight, I think America's pretty nifty, and I'm happy I live here instead of somewhere else. Although I know Canada's nice, but anyway, yeah, American Sniper. People seem to be confusing any criticism of the movie or of some of the historical inaccuracies in it with a sort of pro-terrorist agenda, which I don't. I think that's a bit of a leap, frankly.
You don't have a pro-terrorist
I do
agenda.
not have a pro-terrorist agenda. I am firmly anti-terrorist. Do not think otherwise. I think it's a decent movie, but it has a lot of flaws. Bradley Cooper is really good. He plays Chris Kyle, the sniper, the famous American sniper who apparently sniped more people than any other sniper in American history, and he does a good job. He tries to bring some complexity to this character, but his director Clint Eastwood seems content more to just make a sort of rah-rah pro-military movie that ignores a lot of the complexities and realities of the situation.
Well, are you blaming Clint Eastwood then? Because he is, after all, a famous Republican who addressed a chair at a national political
Yeah, I've
convention.
always
Are you saying that American Sniper is better or worse than Clint Eastwood talking to a chair?
I think it's better. Although I always felt he got a bad rap for that stunt. I thought it was kind of inventive. Even it was willing to be goofy. And I like Clint Eastwood. I think he's made some great movies. He's made a lot of movies, and in that list are some failures. And this is sort of in the middle there. He can make a really well-crafted movie. An American Sniper has some really great tense action sequences. It looks good, and it's well put together. But I do think that it plays fast and loose with recent history in a way that I found disturbing.
Well, let's get to specifics then. When you say it's a raw, pro-American military movie, what scenes are you pointing to? What parts of
Well,
it?
there are a couple things. One is that there's an implied connection between the 9/11 attacks and him going to Iraq, which is certainly true. Many people signed up for the military after that, and those events did lead to that war. But the movie does not at all acknowledge the fact that ultimately there was no connection between Iraq and 9/11, and that the war that we started there has been stated to be by many people, not just me, respected historians, as something that was not worth doing. And I think that that's something that the movie should at least acknowledge as one point.
But to stick up for the movie and for Clint Eastwood a little bit, I saw the movie. I liked it, I think, better than you did. And one thing I did like about it was really a tight focus on Chris Kyle. This is his story. He was a guy who was kind of drifting in life. 9/11 happened. He enlisted. He felt a purpose. What I thought it did really well was show the disconnect between his life as a sniper in Iraq and the heightened senses that he had to use and the really feeling of camaraderie and accomplishment he had. And then when he came home to his wife, very well played by Sienna Miller, that he couldn't adjust. It was like a twig snapping at a child's birthday party sounded like, enemy fire to
Yeah,
him. And I thought just to finish the point,
yeah.
that the tight focus on him, it's like this wasn't a movie about whether the invasion of Iraq was right or wrong. It was just a
Right.
movie about this guy and his extraordinary experience over there.
Yeah, and I don't think, and as I said in the review, that I don't think that it needs to be a movie about that per se, but I think to just completely telescope in on this one perspective, ignores a big part of reality. And I did appreciate the fact that Chris Kyle's story ends up being about PTSD and about the difficulties that he had readjusting. I think that's the closest it comes to actually having some depth, and I think Bradley Cooper is really good in those scenes. But at the same time, the majority of the movie is this uncritical depiction of some pretty jingoistic and racist behavior by soldiers, which is probably accurate and perhaps a necessary facet of war to some degree, but still, I would have liked to have seen a little more awareness of it.
I'm going to disagree with you again. I think that the movie, again, if you're dividing it into thirds, it's like the first third is here is Chris Kyle pre-enlistment. The second third is here's what happened to him in Iraq, and those scenes, the sniping scenes, the convoys moving through the streets and stuff are very well shot. They're exciting. They're tense. They, the editing. It's really in a heart-pounding sense, and that stuff was intercut with, I guess you could call the final third of the movie, which is him coming home and not being able to adjust, going back again, and then finally. This is no spoiler to anyone who knows the historical record. Finally coming to terms with himself, managed to extricate himself and work on his psyche and mental health to become a productive person, and then really needing a tragic end, trying to help out a fellow serviceman. So I thought, given that tight breakdown and stuff, it's not something that has to be debated about the war. It's like, this is what this guy was, and again, not in a spoiler, but in the final scene, showing how much he meant to so many people.
Well, it is a tribute to him and what he was able to accomplish. I just wish what he was able to accomplish wasn't quite so deadly, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, that's war, though. It's not, war beanbag.
It's more like Ballad of the Green Berets than I guess something that I would appreciate.
Like, for instance, Deer Hunter or something like that?
Sure. I mean, there are lots of great war movies, and they're not all, rabidly anti-war. But I think that the best ones have some complexity more than this movie does.
Name a great Iraq War movie that you know of so far.
I don't know that there are any yet. Yeah, I mean, I think it's too soon.
I would say if you want to go back to Iraq 1, to the first Iraq War movie, then David O. Russell's Three Kings.
Sure. Yeah, if you go back to that, that is a good movie. Yeah.
So that's one that you can strongly recommend for another take on the Iraq War experience.
That is a very entertaining, exciting movie. It does have some political content to it, but it's not all about that. I highly recommend that.
Okay. Well, I'm sort of setting you up, maybe both 60 Minutes and Entertainment Tonight style. Any words for your critics that are coming on to you online and saying that you're unfair?
Well, I just think that criticizing a movie doesn't mean criticizing America with a capital A. I think that people get way bent out of shape. I think a lot of people are really have a difficulty, I think, accepting other views, and that's not my problem. I don't know.
Okay then. Anything else we want to add this week? We both saw the Michael Mann movie Black Cat. I gave it a B. I think you were a little cooler toward it than me, but it's, if you like Michael Mann, as I do, there's really moments of great beauty in it, and it is well edited. Honestly, I would recommend American Sniper too. I think it's an interesting movie with a great performance by Bradley Cooper at its core.
All right, there you go.
Okay, thanks. Oh, Oscars. My director is motioning me. We should talk about the Oscar nominations this week.
This just in.
Yes, this just in. Oscar
American Sniper was nominated for 6 Oscars, so Oscars. It must be good.
It must be good. Two movies with Portland connections got some Oscar love. Wild, the shot in Oregon movie based on Portland writer Cheryl Strait's memoir, got acting nominations for Reese Witherspoon and Laura Dern. The Dern nomination was a surprise,
Yeah.
and I think a pleasant one.
Yeah.
People were taken with her performance, and nice to see her get some recognition. And The Box Trolls, the movie filmed by Leica Studios here at Hillsborough, is a finalist for Best Animated Feature. Mark, any surprises or reaction to the Oscar noms?
Well, I think many people are surprised that Selma was not acknowledged more thoroughly, and that movies like Wild were not acknowledged beyond the acting nominations. It felt, and many people have noted this, that it was, you know, the least diverse crowd of nominees since 1998 or 1995 or something by some measures. It was a real good morning for the white men in the film industry, and for the women and minorities, it was I think less exciting.
I think that there's certainly some truth in that, and I think that if you have up to 10 movies to include for Best Picture, and you only choose 8, and all of them are about white men, and you have
Well, Selma did get a Best Picture nod.
it did get a Best Picture nod. I stand corrected, but if you're leaving movies on the table, such as Wild, such as Gone Girl, that have strong female performances in them, and also another successful indie, The Quality of Nightcrawler, I think that something needs to be looked at.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a lot of old guys in that academy, and they won't be around forever.
I guess you could say that about Clint Eastwood too.
I think he's one of them. I believe he is an Academy member.
Okay.
Not that I wish him ill.
Yeah.
I love the guy.
Okay. On that happy note, Clint, we love you.
Semper Fi.